Everyone tells you Stoicism is the peak of masculine philosophy. Nietzsche fans think they've discovered the ultimate truth about power and transcendence. But there's a philosopher who saw through both of these systems, and his insights will shatter everything you think you know about becoming a superior man. Julius Evola didn't just critique modern weakness. He'd exposed the fatal flaws in the very philosophies you worship. While Marcus Aurelius taught you to endure, and Nietzsche promised you power, Evola revealed something far more dangerous: the path to actual transcendence. What you're about to discover will make Stoicism look like spiritual pacification and reveal why Nietzsche's Übermensch was just the beginning, not the end. You've been fed a lie about what it means to be a superior man. The self-help industry sells you watered-down Stoicism. Accept what you cannot change, control your emotions, find inner peace. But this is the philosophy of slaves disguised as wisdom. Even Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to declare God dead and proclaimed the coming of the Übermensch, fell into a trap that Julius Evola saw with crystal clarity. Here's the problem with Stoicism. It teaches you to endure rather than transcend. It makes you comfortable with mediocrity by calling it virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations while managing an empire in decline, teaching himself to accept decay rather than revolt against it. But here's where Nietzsche got it completely wrong. Friedrich Nietzsche gave us the concept of the will to power. He showed us the Übermensch, the overman who creates his own values and transcends slave morality. This was revolutionary. This was necessary. But Nietzsche made a critical error that Evola identified with surgical precision. Nietzsche confused the means for the end. The will to power, as Nietzsche understood it, was pure movement without direction, raw energy without essence. As Evola wrote, power in itself is formless and has no sense without the basis of a given being, an internal direction, an essential unity. When that is wanting, everything slides back into chaos. Nietzsche's personal experience was passive transcendence, the cutting of all bonds, the intolerance of all limits, pure movement beyond any determined goal. But movement toward what? Power. For what purpose? This is why so many Nietzsche readers become nihilistic. They embrace the destruction of old values but have no transcendent foundation for creating new ones. They become spiritual anarchists, confusing rebellion with transcendence. The 10 principles that make Stoics look like children. Evola gave us the corrected Superman, the traditional man who doesn't just wield power but embodies transcendent principles. These aren't self-help platitudes. These are the laws that govern superior men. Principle 1. The power to make law for oneself. While others follow external authorities, society, religion, ideology, the traditional man creates his own law from his deepest essence. This isn't relativism. This is the recognition that true authority comes from within, from your connection to the transcendent domain. Most men are spiritual children, always looking for someone to tell them what to do. The superior man asks only one question: is this aligned with my essential nature? He becomes his own sovereign. Why modern self-help is spiritual poison? Because it gives you external techniques to manage an internal problem. Meditation apps, productivity systems, morning routines. All of this is designed to make you a more efficient slave. The traditional man doesn't optimize his enslavement. He breaks the chains entirely. Principle 2. Fearless strength. Evola wrote, the natural and free aesthetic move to test its own strength by gauging the power of a will according to the degree of resistance, pain, and torment that it can bear in order to turn them to its own advantage. This isn't the Stoic acceptance of suffering. This is the alchemical transformation of suffering into power. The superior man doesn't endure hardship. He seeks it out because he knows that resistance creates strength. Where Nietzsche preached amor fati, love your fate, Evola demands that you become fate. Don't just accept what happens to you. Use what happens to you as raw material for your own transcendence. The one thing Evola understood that Nietzsche missed: Principle 3. Self-discipline as sublimation. The principle of not obeying the passions but holding them on leash. Most people think discipline means suppression. Don't do this, don't want that. Eliminate desire. This is the path of the weak. Evola doesn't want you to destroy your passions. He wants you to sublimate them. Transform lust into creative fire. Transform greed into the will to manifest your highest vision. Transform anger into the fuel for noble action. As he wrote, greatness of character does not consist in not having such passions. One must have them to the greatest degree, but held in check, and moreover doing this with simplicity. Principle 4. Higher courage. The superior man is distinguished from the inferior by his intrepidity, by defiance of unhappiness. This is about internal resolution, the unshakable decision to remain undaunted in the face of hell itself. Most men are moved by pleasure and pain like animals. They seek comfort and avoid difficulty. The traditional man has transcended this binary. He neither pursues happiness nor flees suffering. He pursues his essential nature regardless of external circumstances. Principle 5 will destroy your comfort zone. Principle 5. Conviction to higher ideal. Responding with incredulity to those who point the way to happiness in order to make man follow a certain behavior. But what does happiness matter to us? This principle will shatter your entire worldview if you're still chasing happiness, success, or any external validation. The traditional man serves something higher than personal satisfaction. He serves the transcendent domain itself. While others ask, will this make me happy? The superior man asks, will this manifest the highest within me? Principle 6. Heroism. The recognition that one of the ways to preserve a superior species of man is to claim the right to exceptional acts as attempts at victory over oneself and as acts of freedom. Here's the dark truth about modern masculinity. It has been systematically neutered. We live in a society that punishes exceptionalism, that tears down heroes, that makes heroic action illegal. The superior man reclaims the right to heroic action, not for glory, not for recognition, but as an expression of his essential nature. Every heroic act is first and foremost a victory over your own limitations. Why heroism is illegal in today's world? Because heroism creates inequality. It shows the vast difference between those who transcend themselves and those who accept mediocrity. In a world built on the lie of equality, the hero becomes a threat to the system. Principle 7. Absolute inner freedom. To affirm that freedom whose elements include keeping the distance which separates us, being indifferent to difficulties, hardships, privations, even to life itself. Most people have a childish understanding of freedom. They think freedom means doing whatever you want. But if you're controlled by your desires, your fears, your need for comfort and approval, you're not free at all. Absolute inner freedom comes from conquering your lower nature. It's earned through exposure to danger, through willingly facing what others flee from. Only when you need courage do you become courageous. Only when you need strength do you become strong. The freedom that terrifies weak men. Principle 8. Sovereignty. To denounce the insidious confusion between discipline and enfeelment. The goal of discipline can only be a greater strength. This principle separates the strong from the weak. Weak people create rigid moral rules because they don't have the strength to handle temptation. They need external controls because they have no internal sovereignty. The strong man gains the power to indulge without being enslaved. He can enter any situation without being corrupted by it because his center is unshakable. Principle 9. Pointing the way. To point the way to those who, free from all bonds, obeying only their own law, are unbending in obedience to it, and above all, human weakness. The traditional man becomes a beacon for others who are ready to transcend their limitations, not through preaching, but through embodiment. His very existence points toward higher possibilities. Principle 10. The ultimate transcendence. Principle 10. magnanimous leadership. All those aspects in which the Superman is not the blonde beast of prey, but is also capable of generosity, quick to offer manly aid, is of generous virtue, magnanimity, and superiority to his own individuality. This is where Evola transcends both Stoicism and Nietzsche. The traditional man doesn't just achieve personal power, he becomes a force for elevating others. He rises above his own ego to serve something greater. Everything we've discussed comes back to one word: transcendence. Not the passive transcendence of Eastern mysticism, which seeks to escape the world. Not the aggressive transcendence of Nietzsche, which seeks to dominate it. But the traditional transcendence that seeks to transform both self and world. How to become sovereign in a slave world. You begin by awakening to the transcendent domain within yourself. That part of you that is more than personality, more than conditioning, more than the small self that seeks comfort and approval. From this transcendent foundation, you begin to live by your own law. Not the arbitrary law of personal preference, but the essential law that emerges from your deepest nature. You practice the 10 principles not as external disciplines, but as natural expressions of your awakened state. You seek out resistance because it makes you stronger. You embrace heroic action because it's your nature to transcend limitations. You become, in Evola's words, a man upright amongst the ruins. The path beyond the Übermensch. While Nietzsche's Übermensch destroys old values to create new ones, Evola's traditional man connects to eternal principles that transcend historical cycles. He doesn't just rise above the masses, he becomes a bridge between the human and the divine. This isn't about becoming a perfect person. This is about becoming a complete person. Someone who has integrated all aspects of their being in service to something higher. Most of you will close this video and return to your comfortable philosophies. You'll go back to your Stoic meditations and your Nietzschean power fantasies. You'll continue to seek happiness, avoid suffering, and wonder why you feel spiritually empty. But some of you will recognize the truth in these words. Some of you will feel the call to transcendence stirring in your chest. Some of you are ready to move beyond philosophy into embodiment. To you, I say this: the time of preparation is over. The time of comfortable studying is finished. You know enough theory. You've read enough books. You've listened to enough podcasts. The transcendent domain is not found in books. It's forged in fire. It's not discovered through thinking. It's awakened through action. Become the man who creates his own law. Become the man who transforms suffering into strength. Become the man who points the way for others. Become the traditional man, upright amongst the ruins of modernity. The crypt of your potential awaits. Will you enter?